Now then, so I thought I'd do a bit of an update on my 15mm Canadians that I'm collecting for Battlegroup. But what I thought I'd do first is have a quick look at the army lists. I'm not going to do a full flip through the rulebook. If you want to see a good flip through the rulebook and an explanation of all the rules, then I'd highly recommend you have a look at the acceptable casualties. You can find them on YouTube. I'll try and put a link below to the videos, and it goes through all the different phases and things like that in quite a lot of detail. It's quite good to listen to, so that'll give you a good idea of how the rules work and things. So for Battlegroup, like I said, I've collected 15mm Canadians, and the list I'm using is the actual list that's in the book. So a lot of the heavier support kind of elements that would be available to a British or Canadian battle group aren't present because it's kind of replicating the first couple of days after the Normandy landings. So a lot of the heavy support vehicles and things were still being disembarked and brought ashore. So it's the initial assault forces basically as they fought their way inland, and that's what I'm going for my initial list. But what I have got is, when I expand the list further, I've got the Battlegroup Overlord Beyond the Beaches book, and that fleshes out the list a little bit more, gives you more support options and things like that, different types of vehicles and things, and heavier anti-tank weapons and things like that. But for now, I'm using the lists that are actually in the book. And handily, in the book there's a campaign as well for the 3rd Canadian Infantry Battle Group taking on the 12th SS, and it's all in this book. So have a quick look. You can see it's top quality publication, some of my favourite rule books. I'm a bit of a, you might have noticed if you've been watching my channel for a while, but I'm a bit of a collector of rule books and things, and these are some of the nicest ones that I've got of the Battlegroup books. Yeah, as you can see there. So, like I said, I'm not going to go through the whole book. I'm just going to have a quick look at the army lists and how armies are actually put together. So, different parts of the army, when you put a list together, you got your frontline assets first of all. So your frontline assets, your forward headquarters, so the commander on the ground, whether it be a company commander or a battalion commander, depending on the size of the game, which I'll come to in a minute. So you get your forward headquarters there, your infantry, which are an integral part of the game. You can't have a list without having infantry in it, which is something that I like, because it's quite realistic. Obviously your tanks, your artillery, which you can see, any defences you might have, so your trenches, foxholes, gun pits, sniper hideouts and all that sort of stuff. And then you have your supporting assets, so we're talking about things like reconnaissance, logistics, engineers, additional fire support, specialist units, and things like that. So within your, like, for example, your additional fire support, you can have naval gunfire support, air support, off-table artillery support and things like that. And then, as I was saying before about the infantry requirement, there's actually an infantry requirement table. Depending on the size of game you have different requirements. So you always have to have a minimum amount of infantry and a suggested maximum amount as well. So for a squad level game, your minimum amount of infantry you need is 1 squad, up to a maximum of 1 platoon. And then for a platoon size game, your minimum is 1 platoon up to 2 platoons, and then a company 2 platoons, maximum of 3, and then a battalion 3 platoons to a maximum of 6. So you can scale your game up in that way. So if you're playing a battalion level game, you need to have at least 3 platoons of infantry, and then you buy all your supporting assets. So you can't just say, right, I'm just going to take a load of tanks and that's it with no infantry support. So it kind of models the way it actually happened, or the way that armies actually do operate, because most armies do comprise mostly of foot soldiers and things like that. Yes, that's kind of how it works for that. I did actually watch a video the other day. It was 3 Musty Wargamers, so it was Parma, Hex, Clorex, can never say it, and the Solo Wargaming. They're actually talking about Battlegroup, and there seemed to be a bit of confusion around what's the point in playing a 15mm game where your figures are individually based and things like that, and if you're only having a squad, why would you do it in 15mm? Because you only have like 5 or 6 men or 10 men. But that's not quite what it means. A squad level game is up to 350 points, so your minimum is 1 squad, up to a maximum of a platoon, and then all your supporting things that go with it, which we'll go through in a sec. So the list I've gone for is the Canadian 3rd Infantry Division Battlegroup. It gives you here all your forward headquarters units that you need to take. So for my forward headquarters, what you should have is 3 men, and then you can be transported in a jeep. But what I've done is replaced the 3 men with a Dingo Scout car, just because I haven't got the figures yet, unfortunately. And then you've got other things such as forward air controller, motorcycle dispatch rider, forward signals units, comms relay teams, wire teams, and things like that. And this is the kind of stuff that you don't normally see in a World War II game. I've never seen it before. So if you're trying to call in artillery, for example, and you've got a comms relay team, then I believe, going off the top of my head here, you can, if you fail your comms test, then you can re-roll it because you've got a comms relay team. Or if you've got a wire team, it's an even better chance. If you've got a forward signals team unit, you can do multiple different requests and things like that. So, you know, it gives you all those options there. Moving on to infantry. Within an infantry platoon, you have 1 platoon command section, which is a 5-man section, and it may include a Piat. So you can have the anti-tank weapon, actually integral to your platoon. Then you have 3 rifle sections, 10 men with a Bren gun, and a light mortar team, so 2 men with a 2-inch mortar. And each one of these is a separate thing. So when you're giving your orders and things, you don't just give an order to the platoon and then move the whole platoon. You give an order to, say, 1 section, he's going to move up there. 2 section, get a separate order, he's going to give covering fire for 1 section. And then 3 section, you're going to move up in reserve, and that'd be so. Just by moving those 3 sections, you've used up 3 orders. And then, like your light mortar team could fire some smoke. That'd be 4 orders. And then your platoon command team can move up as well to get eyes on or whatever. And then that'd be 5 orders. So just to move a platoon, you got 5 like small manoeuvre units just within the platoon. So it's not like Flames of War or some other games where you can just move everything. You really have to think about, because your orders are limited. Again, if you look at the Acceptable Casualties videos, it'll explain it all a bit more. But your options are limited by the amount of orders you get for that turn. So you roll a dice every turn, see how many orders you get. So you really have to prioritise and think about what you're doing. You can't just move everything and fire everything. And it kind of replicates that fog of war, that difficulty in issuing and receiving orders and people misunderstanding and things like that. And it's quite realistic, I think. But anyway, so for every platoon you can have 4 platoon support options. So you can have a medic, a heavy machine gun, which would be a Vickers, another Piat team, a medium mortar team, and an anti-tank gun, which is a 6-pounder. And then they've got their own little options below. Like, so for example, the anti-tank gun, you could have an extra 3-man loader team and a Lloyd carrier to tow it for extra points. And then you've got your below there a couple more infantry units you could take. You could take an independent rifle section, or you could just add another rifle section to your platoon, or you could have a carrier section, which is the 3 Bren carriers with different weapon systems and stuff all mixed in there. And then it goes on to the tank units. So you can have a Sherman tank troop. So you have a HQ Sherman, another Sherman, and a Sherman Firefly. And there's a couple of options there as well. And then you can have just 1 tank or an additional tank that you can add to that troop. Or you can have a self-propelled anti-tank gun, which is the M10 Wolverine, which I've got one of, I'll show you in a minute. Then on to artillery, forward observer teams, off-table mortar fire, So you don't have to actually buy all the models and paint them, because it would actually be a couple of K behind the front line, the mortars and things, or they should be. And obviously the artillery will probably be a bit further back than that. So you don't have to have all the models on the table, which is pretty cool. Saves painting them. Aerial artillery observer, which is in an aircraft. Heavy mortar team and off-table artillery fire as well. And then defences. You can actually purchase all your defences like improvised barricades, trenches, minefields, command bunkers, anti-tank ditches, barbed wire, and all that kind of stuff that you'd expect that you can add to your battle group. If you're the defender in an attack-defend game, then obviously you can take all the defences. Moving on to reconnaissance, you can have snipers, armoured cars, infantry foot patrols, carrier team, recon platoon commander. It's quite a good one to take because it will give you an extra +1 for your orders. So the amount of officers, the more officers you have, the more orders you get. Then engineer support vehicles, recovery vehicles, armoured engineering, combat engineer section, and then even logistics. So you can have a supply column. So you can resupply the ammunition in your vehicles, because you do actually track the shots on your armoured vehicles. That sounds complicated, and it sounds like, oh my god, I'm going to have to keep track of all these vehicles. But as you see, when I put my list together in a minute, you only have a couple of vehicles really in a smaller game. It's really easy to keep track of. So when they run out, you can actually resupply them during the game. Ambulances, forward aid posts and stretcher parties, which all add to your battle rating and the morale of your unit. Then you've got these specialist support units. So specialist stuff, you're talking like heavy anti-tank guns, so you've got a 17-pounder there, and a towed anti-aircraft gun, which is a 40mm Bofors or a 20mm Polston AA gun. Then you've got your additional fire support lastly. So you've got pre-registered target points, off-table artillery support requests, Canadian fire mission requests, timed Typhoon airstrikes, counter batteries, times 105s, times 6-inch naval barrages, and a Canadian close air support table there as well. So there's quite a lot, even in that stripped down list for the couple of days just after the Normandy landings. There's actually a lot of stuff in the list as it is, and then when you look inside the Overlord book, it fleshes out a lot more. So you got a lot more options in there for later on in Normandy once they got the heavy equipment ashore. So yeah, I'll stop waffling now. I'll show you some figures. I'll show you the little list that I've put together for my Canadians. Oh, one other point to mention is all the information for the vehicles and stuff is on these cards. You actually get sheets of cards in the book. You can buy these separately. So instead of ripping them out of the book, it's actually perforated there. You can actually pull them out, cut them out and use them. So there's all your Canadian vehicles there, and you've got a lot of German vehicles as well. So there's lots more German vehicles because we've made millions of variants of everything. So I'm going to keep them in the book, and I'll buy mine separately and cut them out. Yeah. So Battlegroup, great game. I actually had a game of it last night, and it did quite well. So I'll show you the list that I put together. Okay, I'll shift this out of the way. So, like I said, I put together a small Canadian force. It comes to about 400, well, just short of 400 points at the minute. The list I used last night was 350 points, but I didn't use everything. So the first thing that you need is a forward headquarters. So like I said, I don't have the 3 figures and a command figure for my forward headquarters yet. So I've replaced it with the Dingo scout car. So there's my forward headquarters there, just a little Dingo scout car. I'll zoom in afterwards and show these a bit closer, but forward headquarters, the Dingo. And then I've gone for a full rifle platoon. So within a rifle platoon, you have best way to do this. So within a rifle platoon, then you have first of all the platoon commander there, and then 5 men. And what I've done is upgraded that to include a Piat team. So there's the 5 men, and 2 of them have got a Piat, 1 loader and 1 Piat gunner, just there. And also within the platoon you get a 3-inch mortar. Sorry, not a 3-inch, a 2-inch mortar, which is a small kind of 50mm size mortar. Just there. And then 3 rifle sections. So I'll just put these rifle sections on. So, and what I've done is I've based them in 2s and 1s, just so I can take casualties off, just like that. There's the first section, 10 men, and then I do apologise, I should have sorted this out before. And there's my second section, just there. Like that. And then a third section behind. Nice. The advantage really of putting them on 2 on a base as well is it just makes it a little bit easier to move them about. So imagine if you had them all individually based, they are quite small, and you'd be there for ages. If it was a big game anyway, you would be. So anyway, there's my platoon HQ, a 2-inch mortar, and 3 rifle sections. So that's your basic platoon. That's always like the core of my army is the infantry platoon with the forward headquarters in front there. So the platoon support options that you can take a Vickers machine gun. So I've got one up there. I'll stick that on. And then to upgrade the Vickers, I've given it an extra 3-man loader team as well. So you've got a load of guys there all carrying ammo cans and things, ammo boxes attached to the gun. And then a 3-inch mortar team. I'll stick down here. And again, I've given that an extra 3-man crew, so you can help cart all the ammunition about. And it makes them a little bit more robust. So when they're taking casualties and things, it keeps the gun firing longer, keeps the machine gun firing longer, because all the crew aren't killed straight away, because there is a minimum amount of crew needed to operate these support weapons. And I believe they give you another bonus as well, but it's just gone completely out of my head. I can't remember what it is. I think it increases their rate of fire as well. Yeah. So the last platoon support option I got then was a 6-pound anti-tank gun, which is there. Stick it on, and I gave that Lloyd carrier to tow it. Like that. And then thinking about some heavier support, what I thought was it needed a bit more anti-tank capability, so I gave it a M10 Wolverine, just there, with its is it a 75mm anti-tank gun that it's got. They're pretty good, as I found out last night. Not very armoured. Don't use it as a main battle tank because it'll get blown up. So yeah, it's best sitting back and ambushing things. And then what I also got was a bit more some reconnaissance, because recce is quite useful in the game. So what I got was a Humber armoured car, and another Dingo. The Dingo armoured car there that's actually a reconnaissance one instead of being the forward headquarters. Yeah, so that's my little force so far. But what I've also painted up is a comms relay team. So in larger games I can add the comms relay team as well. You can sit on the back line and help with artillery requests and things. And then because I plan on getting another full platoon, I've got all the support options already for that platoon, but just haven't got the troops yet. So I've got another 6-pounder and another. Can't see. Got another 6-pounder there, and another Lloyd carrier, another Vickers, and another 3-inch mortar as well. So that there is a full army so far, and that pretty much comes in about 350-ish points, something like that. So that's your kind of squad level game. So it says it's squad level. As you can see, it's not really. The minimum you can take is 1 squad of infantry, and then you could have little supporting options and things. So this is an upper end squad level game, or even a lower end platoon level game, if that makes sense. Yeah, so future plans, like I said, going to get another infantry platoon, and then I'm going to probably get a troop of Shermans, just so I've got 3 main platoon type units, and then flesh it out with a bit more support. I want to get some Bren carriers, might get a Bren carrier section, and things like that. Get a 17 pounder as well, and a tank gun. Yeah, so that is pretty much what I've got done so far. Right, I'll flip the camera around, I'll have a closer look at some of these models. Okay then, so this is what the force looks like. At the front there, you've got the 2 reconnaissance units, so you've got the Humber and the Dingo, and then behind them you've got the first section, infantry section, then you've got the platoon command in there, so you've got the platoon commander, the platoon sergeant and a runner, and then the 2 guys with a Piat, and also the 2-inch mortar team there, and then the other 2 sections behind, like that. And then the second Dingo, you can see that's the forward headquarters for now, until I get the miniatures. Eventually I'll have them on foot, and then that'll just become another reconnaissance asset. A forward comms team just there, 2 mortars with the extra crew, 2 6-pounders with the Lloyd carriers, and of course the M10 Wolverine. Just interesting. I found it interesting anyway. With the Wolverines, or with the Canadian vehicles, they actually in Normandy, as they were fighting through and taking towns and villages and whatnot, they were often mistaken for being Americans. So what they started doing was painting on their stars at a wonky angle, which I've done there, and that really messed with my head having to do that. I really wanted to put it straight, but that's how they did it, to stop themselves being mistaken for Americans all the time. So they put the stars on wonky, and then obviously all the formation badges and whatnot on the front. Yeah, so it's quite a good force so far. Yeah, and just one other point, one other thing I wanted to expand upon slightly, I spoke about it earlier, was tracking the ammunition. And the reason why I think that's a good idea, when I first heard about it, I thought, God, I don't want to be doing that. It's just, I just want to get on and have a game. But what it forces you to do is, for example, the Wolverine there, it only has an ammo capacity of 6. So that's 6 rounds of shooting, basically. It doesn't actually represent it's only got 6 shells in there. It's 6 bursts of shooting, basically. What it forces you to do is, every turn you've got to really think about, do I really want to use this shot? Do I want to waste this shot, or should I wait until I've got into a better position where I've got more chance of success? So it stops you just blazing away every turn from long range. It makes you really think about how you're going to use your assets and what ammunition you're going to fire. So it has a capacity of 6. So what I normally do is I give it 4 anti-tank shells and 2 HE shells. So yesterday I was thinking, do I engage the enemy pack 40 with an HE shell at long range, or do I try and snuggle up a bit closer to it and then shoot it with either a machine gun or put an HE shell into it? Whereas if it was a different rule set, for example, you just blaze away at it without thinking about it really. So it forces you to be a bit more tactical, a bit more savvy about how you're going to move and conceal the units, and how you're going to use your ammunition up, if that makes sense. I think it really adds to the game a lot. It really makes you think, which is only a good thing. So there you go, there's my Canadians so far. Like I said, I'm going to add another infantry platoon, get some Shermans and add a bit more to it, and then eventually I'll start working on the 12th SS, and I've got some ideas. There's a campaign in the book. I'd like to play that campaign before going on to the overall book and then adding even more to the forces. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. So I went on a bit long, but there you go. Right, thanks very much for watching. I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.